You're still with The Perspective, and we are talking about energy efficiency and conservation with Dr. Brian Motherway from the International Energy Agency, Head of Energy Efficiency Division in Paris, and also with John Respati, Chairman of Indonesian Energy Conservation and Efficiency Society. I would like to continue with Pak John about what can the society do more in order to develop this energy efficiency concept in Indonesia. How would energy efficiency contribute to achieving the national energy security?
First, I would like to tell you that establishing MASKEEI was one of the strategies. You know, we are partnering with the government to do more, because without the government we cannot do anything. Although the society can do itself, but we need regulation, we need standards, and that can only government do. So we are partnering with the government to do something to promoting energy efficiency and conservation to the society. With what I said just now, that we are going to ultimately change the behavior. But of course, we are, as a civil society, we are recommending to the government how to make a more effective policy, and that the problem that the policy sometimes is not being implemented so consistently and not implemented consistently. So it's kind of off and on, you know. So we need to have a regulation from the government that is going to be consistent and effective. We propose to the government that in order to people to engage in energy efficiency and conservation, people need some kind of incentive. You know, that the government, for example, they have to. Well, I'm hating to use subsidy, but to support, for example, the manufacturer of energy saving energy saving apparatus like air conditioning and that kind of household equipment. The government is doing something in that, and the government is also obliging big energy users to conduct energy audit and to manage the energy effectively. And that's all one positive thing.
Okay.
But the problem is that you have to enforce that, to enforce people to do that, because there was no incentive in doing that, because the energy price was subsidized. But that impact of subsidy is still lingering on until today.
Okay.
So it had. Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem is how to make the policy effective.
Yes.
Yes, and so maybe I'm going to ask this to Dr. Motherway, because you already observe the policy that have been done by other countries in the world. So what do you think is the key for the Indonesian government to be more effective in implementing their energy efficiency policy?
Well, first of all, it's for each government in each country to decide its own policy mix, and our job is maybe to help them make those decisions by providing data and analysis, and as you say, looking at other countries and encourage countries to learn from each other in terms of what has worked. I think one of the reasons why energy efficiency is challenging is because the answer to your question is you need a lot of different policies, because as John has pointed out, you need to think about how energy is used in industry, how we use it in our homes, how we use it in transport, and in each case the policies you need might be different. So that's sometimes, I think, why it's harder to do energy efficiency, because you don't just pass one law or one regulation. You need a lot of different solutions, and it can be messy. And to be honest, no country in the world is perfect, because it does take a range of different issues and you have to update them over time. So I think it's important just to keep a focus when you're doing your planning for energy, when society is thinking about its future energy needs. It's just important to think about how it's used as well as where it comes from. And if you keep that focus, then you will get the policy mix right over time, I think.
Okay, so in your opinion, so what is it that to be done for now?
I think it's important to remember that focusing on energy efficiency brings a lot of benefits. For instance, if the manufacturing sector is encouraged to be more energy efficient, it makes them more competitive. Yeah. It makes their products more exportable. So it actually supports and creates new jobs. So I think it's important to align energy efficiency policy with other policies. So policies to make energy available to everybody, to make it affordable, to create jobs, to make transport systems good for people. It's important that everything is aligned. Energy efficiency shouldn't be making those other things harder. It should be helping those things. And I think there are some opportunities, for instance, in terms of other countries set minimum standards on the energy efficiency of appliances. Some countries focus more on incentives and subsidies. There's a range of things to choose from. The important thing is that they are all focused on making society better. This is not something about sacrifice, or it's not even something that, even though you sometimes have to invest in it, it actually saves more money over time because you're spending less on energy. So there are a lot of good things to flow if you can look at it in an integrated way.
Yes, I like to underline the integrated way because it needs coordination. And that because it cannot be done in a vacuum, right? So we have to do everybody. Like I said, the stakeholders is you and me and everybody. So we need to engage everybody to make an impact on energy efficiency and conservation. So that's for everybody too, yeah? Right? Okay, and then if we are talking about Indonesia, that is where the main problem is, because we need to coordinate between all stakeholders. Many people think that the domain of energy efficiency or energy is only the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. That's not, because they are not the user of energy. Who are the user of energy if we are talking about the ministry? That's Ministry of Industry. I mean the industry. The transport, that's Ministry of Perhubungan. Yeah? The buildings, that's the Ministry of Public Works. So there are many stakeholders that should be engaged together, that they can do the energy efficiency, and they have to feel and that energy efficiency and conservation is important for them. That's not my business. This is our business. Yeah.
Okay, so how do we educate the stakeholders in terms of implementing the energy efficiency policy?
Well, I think in the first place you have to make them aware that energy is not a cheap thing. It is the big mistake that we have made during maybe the last 50 years is that we think that energy is cheap. It takes for granted, right? We take for granted that energy is there. When you were born and when you were a child, then you say, well, the electricity is there. But what about the people in East Indonesia? They don't have electricity. So it means that energy is not cheap one. So another second big mistake is that we think that Indonesia is very rich of oil, very rich of, well, we have plenty of it. But for oil, for example, if you compare with the Middle East or with the Venezuela, Indonesia is only very tiny in terms of world. But we have that. Right? So people have to think that energy costs money, and that energy not only costs money but costs environment if we are talking about fossil fuel.
Okay. Well, Dr. Motherway and John Respati, we must again take a short break. We will continue our discussion more on the perspective later.